Hi everybody, this is Jean-Charles Compagnon with the KiOui app, and today I want to show you one of our new applications called KiOui Quantity. With Selling Manager or Selling Manager Pro, you get what is called a widget, which is this little window here that shows up within eBay. And that little window is like a resume of our application, gives you some information as to what is going on, and it helps you get a quick view about the application. So this application is KiOui Quantity, and just like its name, it's going to help you manage quantity. Now this is not an inventory app that will sync inventory between Amazon or eBay. Or the goal of this application is to manage really quantities that you have, and be able to not have quantities go out of listings. So let's click the start button here to go directly to the application. And the first thing that you will do is get this first page. Now right away I want to take you to the config tab, where there are a few things that can be configured. The email address, here is the email address that will be used to send you notifications throughout the application. We pull this email address for you directly from eBay, but you're able to change it if you want. Global options is to be notified when an item was ended, but you still had inventory within our application. And you will see a little bit later that each quantity is managed with rules. And so when an item ends, there is technically no need to keep this rule unless you want to reassign it to another item. But so this number here is the number of days that we will keep the rule after an item ends. So right now I have it at 0 because once one of my item ends, I really don't need to keep the rule. So now let's go back to the main rules tab. In this rule tab, you will see the rules that were created. So you can see some of the rules that I'm using for my eBay store. And you can create rules as follows. So you add a record. You can select if your rule is active or not. So let's create an active. You can put a comment. Test rule for the video, for example. You can put an item ID. So let's see, I'm gonna try to go to my store to get an item ID for you. Here, let's just grab this one. An item ID of the, so I want to create a rule for this item. So I'm gonna add the item ID here. Now I want to keep this item at let's say 5. I want people to know that I have 5 of those items. However, I do not want it to be kept at 5 until it falls below 4. So if I have 6 of those items, it will go to 5. So let's say, okay, so let's say here I have 10 of those. So what will happen is that the listing will show only 5, but this application will know that I have 10. So when somebody buys one of those wigs the first time, the quantity will go down to 4, and it will stay the same. Now on the next purchase, when it will go down below 4 to 3, it will be revised and put back to 5. And this number will decrease. When the quantity to be kept at is higher than the total number that you have, then it decreases. So on the first purchase, so let's just put 6 to make it an easy tutorial. So let's say I have 6 of those wigs, and the first time I'm going to list this item, it will be put at 6. Then right away this application will see this rule and will put it at 5. When one item is purchased, this will stay at 5, and this will go down. Actually, when one item is purchased from 5, it will go down to 4. So the quantity in the item will be 4. This will go down to 5 because 1 was bought. The second time that a purchase will be made, the quantity on the item will become 3. Right away, this will fall below this number, which is 4, and the application will put it back to 5. So now the quantity in the item went back from 3 to 5, and this number goes down to 4. Now the next time when an item is being purchased, this will go down, so the quantity will go down from 5 to 4, and so this will be at 3, it will be 4. Then the next time it will go down to 3, and this number will go down to 2. It will not be revised at that point because this item, this number here is lower than this number, and obviously we don't want to keep putting it at 5 if we have it at 2. So once the quantity on hand is below the quantity to be kept at, it will not revise the item. So you get the idea. So let's see, for this example I'm going to put 10 here. I want to be notified when the item is revised, so when the quantity is revised. Now it will notify me only when this rule is in effect. It will not notify you if everything in the kitchen sink revises your item because you have a gallery or something in your item. It's only when our application is being used. And just as a safety guard, I want to be notified when my item quantity falls below 2. Because, you know, there might be a problem. I want to notify it. It's going to be close to the end of my item, so I want to make sure I have the correct quantity on hand. And this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to save. And let's see. Where did my item go? I obviously have a lot of items. Let's see. I'm going to search for my item here. And you can see that I already had a rule for it here. But you can see that the one that we added is the test rule. There's a little icon here. The current quantity on hand, the current quantity is 0 because our system has to fetch and get that information. See, I just refreshed it, and now it knows that our current quantity is 3. Now the system is going to catch that there's a rule, and I'm probably going to delete this rule and use the other one, otherwise it might conflict. You see, with this rule, it's going to try to revise it to 5. This rule is going to try to revise it to 3. This rule is going to try to revise it to 5, and it will create a loop. So I'm going to delete this one that I created, and I'm just going to use the one that I've already had here, that was already created. You can obviously delete it. I just showed you how that works. You can edit this rule, and here there are a few more options once you edit the application. It filled up the current quantity. You could override that. You could go and say, you know, currently really I made a mistake and I want to keep this at 4, and so my current quantity in the item, this is the quantity that shows up in the item, is going to be 4, and I still want it to be revised below. Now because I changed the quantity, the current quantity here, you don't have to do that, but I'm going to force here by checking this checkbox. I'm going to ask the application to force a quantity update. And I still want to be notified, and here actually I'm going to change that to a 2. And so when I save, the system recognized the rule, and it will take a little minute, but it will eventually go and revise your item and make sure that it's all set. Now if you have a lot of items, this can be very cumbersome to create those rules. So what we added is this auto rule generator. What this auto rule does is it looks for items that are being listed. So let's look at this first rule that I have here. When an item is going to be listed, when I list an item, it will come here and look to see if there is a rule. So in this rule, the title is wigs. My rule is that the condition is if the title contains and the value is wig. So if the title contains the word wig, create a rule. Now the quantity to be kept at is going to be 3. The revised below is going to be 3. I want to be notified, and actually I'm going to change that in my rule so that every time there's a rule created, it will create it with those settings. The total quantity, it will take the quantity that you currently have in the listing. So if I list an item with, let's say, 20, so I have this wig that has 20. It will put the 20 here and here. Then on the second run, so it will put, actually, no, it will just create a rule. I'm sorry. It will just create a rule. So when this rule is then created, it will create a rule with this form here, of this form. Now, quantity, total quantity on hand and current quantity is going to be filled with what is in the listing. So if I have 20 of those items, it will put 20 here, and it will put 20 here. Then on the second time the application runs, about a minute later, it will see that this number 20 here is much higher than this number that I want to be kept at. And it will then put the current quantity to 4 and keep this quantity at 4. In this case it did not, because I only want it to be revised below 3. But that's a little bit more complicated. But you get the idea. When a listing is being listed, I don't know that I have one that came through directly, but you can see that, for example, this listing came with 10. This is the quantity on hand that I had. Then it puts 3 and 3, that was my rule, automatically created. And then on the second part, it realized that 10, that was actually here, was higher than this number, and thus it revised it to this number. Let me do a little refresh to see here if I have a new item that got listed that came. No, but you get the idea. So let's say, for example, that you have you're selling coupons. Coupons on eBay are quantity limited. You cannot list more than 100 coupons of the same coupon, and you cannot list more than 10 at the time. This is one of those obscure eBay rules, but this is a rule that is there. So, but let's say I don't have 100 of those coupons. I got 1,000 of those coupons. So I would go here, create a rule, and my coupon, let's see, I would activate this rule. I will call that my coupon rule. And my item ID for that coupon would be something like that. Then I would want to keep the quantity at 10, because I sell them by 10. So that would make it 100, 10 times 10. I would revise it when it goes below 9, because I want to get a little bit of dynamicity in my listing. And the total quantity on hand that I have would be 100 of those. So I have 100 of those, but I can't list 100 because eBay will take down my listing. So by doing this, I'm compliant with eBay. It will keep it under at 100 up until I run out of those packages. And I want to be notified and all of that. Now let's say I sell a lot of coupons. So I'm not going to save this rule here. Let's say I sell a boatload of coupons, because that's what I do on eBay. I would create an auto rule that would say that would be my coupon rule. And priority 0 is fine. You can give it a priority if you want. Priority in rules can be useful because it will use the first rule that it finds and then gives up. So you could have stacked rules that would say if it doesn't find it in the first one, it could find it in the second one. So here for coupons, I'm actually going to be using the SKU contains, and I will put coupon. And so when I create my listing, I'm going to make sure that the SKU value, or the added field, I forgot what they call it on eBay, but the SKU coupon, the SKU number contains the word coupon. So my SKU number could be coupon 1, coupon 2, coupon 3, coupon 4, but because it contains the word coupon, it will be caught by this rule. And the rule will create, let's say, maintain it at 8, revise it below 7 and notify me in 2. So now if I list a coupon with a quantity of 1,000,000, it will go and put 1,000,000 in the total quantity and 1,000,000 in the current quantity. The system will then, within a minute, find that 1,000,000 is much more than 8, that I need to keep it at, and will revise the item and put it at 8. And so eBay will be happy because then I'm way below the rules. However, this application will keep putting it at 8 up until I run out of my 1,000,000 of coupons. And this works with all kinds of things. Rules like this can be created to make it look like you have not as much inventory as you have, to try to create a need for your item. It can also be used to create, usually for the wigs, for example, I have about 50 of those. But when you look at a listing, let me go to one of my listings to show you. When you go to a listing, here it shows quantity available 3. So that creates a demand for people. When you have something that shows more than 10, you usually don't have a sense of hurry. You try to think, well, I have time. This guy has millions of those, so whatever. But I kind of like to keep this number below 10 so that it really displays a number that somebody may feel is not a bulk item that I'm selling. So there you go. Status is nice to see which item was revised and when. Old quantity, for example, for this new item that I created was 0 and it got put to 5. You can see when and which item was revised from which quantity. So here you can see that I always list my new item at 10, and it always creates a rule that I showed you for the wig rule, and then revise it to 3. And there were no errors. You can come here to see if there are some errors. Notification, I've asked to be notified, so it notifies me when this item, and it sent me your quantity has been updated notification on this. It's nice to be able to check, to see if the app is working or if it's sending the proper thing. So, and how-to videos points you to this YouTube video and some other videos that hopefully I'll make with some of your questions. So one last final thing, if we go back to the eBay homepage or eBay page, you can see that here this widget shows you a review of those items that were created. You can easily, let's say, this item here, suddenly you don't have 3, you just sold one to somebody else, you just have 2. So you can come here and change your quantity on hand to 2. What will happen is the current quantity will stay at 3, but when it will eventually, well, actually you could do this and force it, and then this way it will show with a quantity on hand of 2, and it will update the listing. You can also quickly add an item here. Obviously this is a smaller window and we recommend using the full application, but it's nice to have those widgets here to be able to quickly see what's going on. Obviously it's a smaller window, so we have to get rid of sort options and search options and things like that. But when we have a few items, it's nice to be able to see what's going on with your application. So once again, this is Jean-Charles Compagnon with the KiOui app. I hope that this quantity app will help some of you. We're open to question, and feel free to contact us. Feel free to post on this video, post on our support board, and let me know if you have any question. Thank you. Have a great day.